What's going on, guys? It's your boy Mr. SC aka Steven, and welcome back to another Sword and Shield video. You might be thinking Sword and Shield? I thought Sword and Shield was over. This is a different kind of video. Today I'm gonna give you guys my 5 personal top 5 reasons why I think Sword and Shield was a great game for Pokemon, for the main series in general. Very good game. Sword and Shield kind of came to like the end of its lifespan of like the 2 years. I think it was almost the main game. Now obviously Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl have been released, so it kind of gets dethroned by that as the primary main game. But today I'm going to give you the 5 reasons, in my opinion, why Sword and Shield was amazing. So let's get into it. So before we go any further, I'm gonna have a quick overview of Sword and Shield for you guys. Apparently Sword and Shield, by my research, is the 5th best seller of a game on the Nintendo Switch, and it's won numerous amount of prizes for like best Switch game, best Pokemon, whatever. In September 21, which is like a couple months after me making this video, they sold 22 million physical copies. So those numbers are all looking pretty nicely for Sword and Shield. But today we are going to be giving you... Is that Eevee? Oh, that's a wild Eevee. I got distracted for a sec. That's what happens in Sword and Shield as well. We're going to dive into the first of 5 reasons why I think Sword and Shield was amazing. So the first reason we're gonna dive into is gyms. The previous main series games is actually Let's Go Pikachu, but a lot of people don't really regard Let's Go as a main series game. And if you go back one game before Let's Go, your final game is actually in the main series, quote unquote, in the main series, is actually Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. Now, what is important about that is that Sword and Shield brought back gyms in the form of these stadiums, but these are actually just gyms. Ultra Sun and Moon and Sun and Moon tried out a different concept with trials. Sword and Shield went back to basics and implemented the gym mechanic again, which in my opinion is the way to go. Sword and Shield or Ultra Sun and Moon and Sun and Moon were kind of like game changers in the fact that they didn't have that concept, but in my opinion Pokemon is at its best with gyms implemented. So Sword and Shield implemented that back into the game, back into the franchise, and that's the way forward, to be honest. That's the way forward. Like Legends Arceus, you might say in the comments down below, I can already see you typing, is probably not gonna have any gyms because I don't think it's that kind of game. But is Legends Arceus main series? Who knows? You can debate that, of course, all you want, and this is not a debate on what game is classified as main series and what games are not. Ultra Sun and Moon and Sun and Moon didn't have gyms. Sword and Shield brought back gym battles, gyms in general, gym badges, gym leaders, everything around gyms were brought back in Sword and Shield, and I love that, and that is the first reason why I think Sword and Shield was amazing. The second reason is the wild area. This was a groundbreaking mechanic inside of Sword and Shield. The wild area, such a huge open world area with Pokemon in the overworld. And yes, Let's Go had Pokemon in the overworld, but in Sword and Shield you have the wild area and you have the wild Pokemons in the overworld as well. And just the wild area in general, it's a really great concept, and I've really enjoyed the wild area inside of Sword and Shield. Like, it is obviously one of the prime locations and key locations that you want to be spending your time in for all various reasons. You got Pokemon in the overworld, you have an open world gameplay, and this was just a fantastic introduction into the franchise, into the game. What people are actually craving for is this. Obviously, Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl is out at the moment, and they have sort of a similar mechanic with the underground, which works in a sort of like way to the wild area. But the wild area introduction in Sword and Shield for me is just incredible. It's game changing. It is just what Pokemon needs to do and implement going forward. And also another feature of the wild area is the raids. The raid dens, whatever. Those kind of features are groundbreaking. They are revolutionizing the franchise. Sword and Shield basically put in raids for the first time because we did not have that feature. Let's Go had Pokemon in the overworld. It did not have a wild area, so they implemented the wild area and improved on the mechanic that they had in Let's Go, and then they slapped the raid dens on top of that inside of the wild area, which was just an insane update and an insane introduction to the Pokemon series. Moving on. The next one, guys, when I was actually researching into Sword and Shield and like information and all that stuff, I kind of found this nice and cool fact about Sword and Shield. Sword and Shield did not introduce regional forms. That was done before Sword and Shield, but Sword and Shield was the very first game that introduced new evolutions to an existing Pokemon with like an additional form, I mean. For example, Galarian Zigzagoon evolving into Galarian Linoon, and then eventually evolving into Obstagoon. Like, we've had Alolan Sandshrew, for example, evolving into Alolan Sandslash, which is the same as Linoon, and Zigzagoon evolves into Linoon. But in Sword and Shield, they went a step further and they added a brand new Pokemon in Obstagoon to an existing line. Even though it's a different form, it is a different form, but they added an additional evolution, which is something now we are probably going to see going forward again. We've already seen that in Sword and Shield. In Legends Arceus, we've already seen that. They are taking existing Pokemon, even giving them new forms, and then giving them an extra evolution. We've already seen features like this in the Legends Arceus trailers and informations that we've gotten so far. But Sword and Shield was the foundation for this feature, and we are probably going to be seeing a lot more of that because it is very nice to go off existing Pokemon, because you don't have to redesign or design a Pokemon from scratch. You have a baseline and you work from there, and that's probably a lot easier for Game Freak to do than to create brand new concepts. So introducing this feature in Sword and Shield is definitely on my top 5 list of why Sword and Shield is amazing. The next reason is maybe slightly controversial, but it has to do with the Pokemon Dex. And what you might ask? We had a lot of backlash, Game Freak had a lot of backlash about an exclusion of a lot of Pokemons that were not in the game. They basically cut out so many Pokemons from the original launch of Sword and Shield that created a big backlash, bring back National Dex, and all that stuff. But there is something else about the Pokemon Dex that I want to add to this list, because I think people kind of overlook this when it comes to Sword and Shield. Sword and Shield added 92 new Pokemon, brand new Pokemon to the franchise. 92 Pokemon and that is the most amount of Pokemon that were added in a new generation, in a new games release, since Black and White added 156. 156 were added in Black and White, and after Black and White, Sword and Shield tops that. Or not tops that. Sword and Shield actually added a lot more Pokemon than, let's say, the X and Y era, Gen 6 or Gen 7. So that for me is a top 5 reason why Sword and Shield is amazing. They added the most Pokemon since Black and White, which is 3 generations ago. So that obviously means that Game Freak are still looking to add additional Pokemons. Like in the latest gen, we've got 92 extra new Pokemon, unique designs, unique extra Pokemons added to the franchise. Some, obviously, better than others, but we've had some amazing additions. Think Dragapult. Dragapult for me is such an amazing Pokemon, like such a great design, good evolution. Like Dreepy is Dreepy, but Dragloak and then Dragapult are like definitely one of my favorite Pokemons of the game. The legendaries as well, fine Pokemon designs, great Pokemons in general, dude. But the point I'm making is they added a lot of new Pokemon to the franchise, and Sword and Shield definitely deserves credit when credit is due. And then the final reason of this top 5 is, again, potentially up for debate, slightly controversial, but the addition of DLCs. Sword and Shield introduced DLCs, a first in the franchise. Guys, DLCs, whether you agree or not on DLCs, like whether you agree on if this content had to be in the game upon release, and you didn't feel the need that you should have been paying extra for the DLCs, that is a different discussion. But for me, this is about Pokemon Game Freak adding DLCs to a existing game and expanding that game, giving it new features, giving it extra Pokemon, more locations, bigger map. DLCs are big, guys. Like, this could be very, very crucial going forward in the Pokemon franchise. Again, whether you agree or not on why you should be paying extra for a game you already have to unlock extra content, that's a different story. This is besides the point. We got DLCs for the game. We got an existing game of Pokemon in the main series that got a DLC that got updated, and they expanded the game by a substantial amount. Like, let's not forget that, for example, the Crown Tundra introduced a Dynamaxing adventure. For me, one of the best, if not the best feature in this entire game. Like, so much end game content was added by that. Online content, community content, like, it was amazing. Like, DLCs definitely opened the door for bigger and better things to come in the future, guys. Again, if you don't want to pay for the DLCs, that's fine too, but that is besides the point I'm trying to make here. The DLCs gave the Pokemon Company a possibility to expand and improve on an existing game while adding additional Pokemons to the decks. Like, DLCs are probably the way to go, guys. And Sword and Shield introduced that, is a staple. It's the first time they've ever done that, and I think we can expect a lot more of these DLCs to come. So guys, those were my top 5 reasons why I thought Sword and Shield was amazing. Sword and Shield has come to its end of its lifespan. Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl are there to take the torch and probably give that over to Legends Arceus potentially, because that is the next game dropping quick and fast in about 6 weeks time. But Sword and Shield must not be forgotten, dude. Like, we spent 2 years plus on Sword and Shield, and it was amazing. Like, I've made this video and I've loved Sword and Shield, and I really wanted to make this. I really wanted to put out these 5 reasons why I thought Sword and Shield was a fantastic game, and I think we can definitely build on Sword and Shield going forward, to be honest. Like, Legends Arceus, the wild area, is probably going to be a very big foundation of Legends Arceus build. But we're gonna wrap it up right here, guys. Let me know in the comments down below what you think about Sword and Shield. If you've enjoyed the past 2 years on Sword and Shield, what you potentially think about the features that I've listed here as my 5 reasons why I thought it was an amazing game. Maybe you have a different opinion on the reasons that I've mentioned, or you have additional or completely different reasons why you thought Sword and Shield was great, or maybe you didn't think it was great. Leave it in the comments down below, leave a like on the video, and definitely subscribe if you haven't done so yet, and I will see you on the next one.